This is about my thesis. I call it Naturalized Epistemology, Wittgenstein and African Model. But another name to give to it is Decolonizing Knowledge, Naturalizing Naturalized Epistemology. Please don't bother about the times. I will simplify use the best word possible. But in terms of naturalism, the aim has been how can we explain everything just from the word natural, the natural point of view. Rather than God says this, God says that. It started with the traditional Western philosophers, someone like. Anyway, it's about epistemology. That's where my thesis is on. And what is epistemology? It's just the study of knowledge. Or what knowledge is, one to understand what it is. And there are, like I said, the traditional epistemologists who started this. The man called Descartes, who is the French rationalist. They wanted to know how can we, I said the aim is to see how can we explain things about the world from natural perspective, rather than going to God or supernatural realm. So now he asked himself, what best method can we adopt? Science. So he used the rational, the reasoning. He believes that if we can use reasoning to explain everything. But this man came after. He said, reasoning cannot do this. We have to rely on our senses. What can we see that can help us? But the one thing that is similar about the two of them is they believe that just like we are doing here, someone who has the knowledge should be the one to explain it. If I found something out, then I shouldn't be relying on someone else. I should be the one to explain from my perspective. That is one thing about the two of them. Either from rational or the people, it has to be from one's perspective. So this man then came into the picture, Quine. He said in the contemporary room, not just anybody can tell me anything from what his perspective is, but what can everybody see? So he prefers the third person perspective. That is, the stimulation we get from external world, we should be able to explain it as our knowledge, rather than relying on whatever anybody says from their perspective. But this man came into the picture that, wait, what you have just told us is not epistemology, is not philosophy. That is science. Of course, there is science, and we agree to that, so let it be science. But you can't say we should go by the perspective that we have been using, then bring science into it. So, what is the solution is provided? He said there is a better way of doing that. What you are trying to introduce in. But this man then came into the picture, who happens to be a South African, that's not completely African, so to say. He said, wait a minute, what you've been giving to us has experienced so many things if we go by it in our world. That is the mental aspect of our life, the emotional aspect. Those things cannot be explained using the scientific method. So, rather, he said there should be an holistic perspective to things. That which, not just science or the first person perspective, we can have them together to be able to have a holistic understanding of things around us. It's a very good step. Now, all that has been excluded is coming back gradually. But just like our keynote speaker said, even beyond contemporary anyway, but not to those who have come before, he is the greatest African philosopher of this contemporary world. He now said, what this, the previous man, Magdo, what he's introducing is also not completely African. Although he's trying to bring in other aspects that we have been neglecting, that our focus on science has restricted us from. Now he said there are other parts that Africans has always been, emphasizing the word Ubuntu, and I'm glad our speaker mentioned it, which has become a very powerful word in African settings. It's from the Zulu proverb which says Umuntu Gabantu, which means a person is a person through other persons. So which means there are various, I discussed with my supervisor, I said, why Vladimir Putin, why he needs a solo. He has been trained to consider that thing meaningless. The same thing even to my professor said, if he mentioned anything solo, a student will be looking at him as, are you really serious? Because we've negated all those things, now we are focusing on just one aspect of knowledge. How do we bring them all back together? And this is where I'm coming in to introduce the African perspective. The story goes thus: from the traditional perspective, we get to the eliminative from Quine, who tries to eliminate so many things that cannot be explained from science perspective. The reductive came in from there, and they said, wait a minute, we can reduce what we are eliminating, we can reduce back to our world. But this man said that reduction cannot work because those things are part of our world. Either the moral or the...
Thank you, Andrew. I think Andrew has given us 5 minutes back, so we can use it for discussion. Barbara, please go ahead.
I don't want to hold this, but I have so many questions to ask both of you. But Andrew, I think that was brilliant. I just want to say, as from the perspective of a scientist, that sometimes we don't rely on what we see or sense or hear for knowledge. You only have to look at quantum physics. There are all sorts of particles made up to explain things. Nobody can ever see them, nobody can detect them, and so on and so on. And I think we've gone too far in that direction. I'm also fearful that now, as we're entering into the era of robotics, artificial intelligence, we are drawing on data, we're feeding these algorithms, which is what effectively is westernized data. So we are going to become, you say, robots, and I fear that, or we're going to have robots dictating to us from a westernized perspective. And so we absolutely have to hold that. You'll say that I'm a Luddite, but I think this is timely. We really desperately need to know about the African philosophies, the Asian philosophies, and so on and so on, so that we can have a far broader database, because I do feel that we're going to have artificial intelligence picking up and polarizing. Yeah. And that's on top of us, all of us.
Yes, thank you so much.
I think we can say both.
Oh, sorry.
Any question? Let me start with Charles.
I have a